All right, I feel like I should have a glass and go ding, 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 ding. On the bell. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We are super excited to finally have a face-to-face meeting. I know the last couple of ones we had was through Teams, and it was through a Teams live event, so y'all were able to see us, but we weren't able to see y'all. And I'm sure a lot of y'all were camera shy during the Teams meetings. I went through the previous meetings at the building coordinator website, and I believe the last in-person one was back in November of 2019, so 2 years. So today we're gonna have some awesome staff from Facilities Construction Management share some great information and updates. My name is Erica, and I am part of the Facilities Business Operation and Compliance team. Very long name. I'm gonna say FBOC from now on. I'm also the building coordinator for the General Services building and the voice that you hear when you call Fix-It. So a couple of housekeeping things that I want to mention before we get started. We're not going to have scheduled breaks, so if you need to step out to take a phone call or use the restroom, you can use the doors to my left, and the restrooms are out these doors to the left. Thank you, Mark. Please continue to eat your breakfast. Feel free to grab refills on your coffee and water out in the back. If you need to get up and stretch, please do so. We allotted a certain amount of time for each presenter. So if you see the thank you sign here, we're going to ask that you hold your questions until the very end, and we'll circle back to those questions. And if we don't have enough time, we'll ask you to email Facilities Communications, and we'll get back with you with those answers. We'll also be compiling all the Q&As and be sending it out in an email for everyone to refer back to. So, our first presenter is Ms. Magda Alanis.
Welcome, everybody. It's nice to have see some friendly faces that I've seen on the screen or actually seen on the picture of their phone. And I've been here for about 1.5 years, so I haven't really gone out on campus besides when I went to school here, because I'm an alumni, so I'm very happy to be an employee as well. So I'm very proud of University of Houston, and I bleed red just really, really heavy. So, but I am glad to see some of the faces, and hopefully some of you, I get to come and meet some of you, and y'all let me know what your names are, or y'all come and introduce yourselves to me. I think it's very important to develop this relationship between each other. Y'all are our volunteers, y'all are our eyes and ears for the facilities department for FCM. And so we really appreciate and thank you so much for volunteering and doing this. It's not an easy job when everybody's looking at you or getting mad at you or whatever it may be, and also for you to coordinate a lot of stuff in your facilities. And I know that's very difficult, I know, because I'm in customer service, so I hear the good and then I hear a lot of bad. So I want to say thank you so much for all the service, for all the time you put in being a building coordinator for us, for the university. At the end of the day, it's for the experience of our customers, which is our students and our faculty. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We want to just let you know that we've been working on several initiatives, and I know y'all are eager to hear about all the initiatives we've been working on, but I do want to say that we also, as a thank you for your services, we have some gifts for you as well that will be passed out at the end of the meeting. So hopefully y'all appreciate those. Not appreciate them, but hopefully I get to see them around campus because it says building coordinator on them. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So some of the initiatives we've been working on in FCM is the Building Coordinator Program Enhancement, which is your part of it that makes up the Building Coordinator Program. Without you, we will not have a program. So again, I want to say thank you so much for all the time and for being a building coordinator a building coordinator. With the Building Coordinator Program, it came with the revolutionizing customer service. In the Building Coordinator Program, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of aspects that makes the actual Building Coordinator Program an actual program. It's building coordinators, it's zone managers, it's communications, liaisons, it's the call center, it's work orders, so it makes up a lot to actually have the program intact. So I just want to say that we have started with having zone managers. Zone managers was a new thing for the university and for FCM. It has been a very slow start. It's slowly progressing, but we're envisioning that the zone managers are assigned to each of the areas by zone. And when we say zone, we talk about research, we talk about ENG, and we talk about auxiliaries. So each of the zone managers are assigned for each of those areas. And we also have a business zone manager that deals with offsite facilities like Katy and Sugar Land, manage the outsourced call center, and deals with any other administrative stuff, and also dealing with all of our internal employee concerns and issues regarding the call center and the work order management system. You will get to meet everybody here soon today. We are short, we still have one vacancy on the zone managers, but we're well on our way. And you get to soon here meet everybody by name, so when you see these faces, you know who they are, and you know what their names are. And they basically are our customer relationship managers. They will be working with you and trying to make sure they bring all your stuff to our attention and be the liaison between the technicians, the department, and you. So they would help facilitate all of that. So while we're getting up to speed, some of the people are new and still learning the facilities and what each department does, what the name of the buildings are, and so forth. So just be patient with that, but they'll be reaching out to you, and we'll give y'all some information as well pretty soon so y'all can start communicating with them as well. I believe some of them have their business cards here they could pass out to you as well, so they can get started with you. The other thing we've done with the building coordinator program is officiate the building coordinators. We want to make sure that we have an audit, a good audit, and make sure that we have our building coordinators to better serve our customers. And that's certifying our building coordinators, anybody that's new, sit down with them, train them, and tell them what the expectations are and how we can better serve them. And with that being said, we have some building coordinators that have been building coordinators for several years. We're going to continue to do the same thing to recertify. One is to make sure that we have the right building coordinators, and then two, to see if there's anything we missed or add anything new that's coming up and coming. So the recertifications and the certifications, that's what it serves, and that's what we have started doing this year. So maybe I have received letters certifying that, and to make sure that is for the rest of the year. Also, what we have with the training, we'll also issue out an SOP, very basic SOP for you that will have a lot of information and some of the expectations or some of the resources that you can use to better facilitate your occupants in your facility, and also to work with us in between back and forth. We're also working on, we already actually, as y'all saw, we started doing outages for FCM, and there was a lot of coordination in between them. We actually went ahead and codified that procedure for our internally so everybody could be on the same page. We also reformatted the procedure and also put some timelines and KPIs to measure ourselves to better serve you and your customers and your occupants in your facilities. We have 3 different colors, and I believe Erica will go over it, but that helps us measure our performance internally, but it also makes it easier for you to say, it's green, I could get to it later, because you only get, I know you get only one email, so you're really looking at our emails waiting for them, right? No, we know that everybody's bombarded with emails, so we wanted to make it easier for you to say, okay, I could look at this later. Why it needs attention right now? So hopefully that is working out, and like I said, Erica will go over some more of those details, but that's some of the stuff that we have done to make sure that it's part of the Building Coordinator Program enhancement and revolutionizing customer service. Also, VACCOM also does a lot of pertinent information that we send out, not just the outages. And again, she will go over more in details in regards to it, but we also have been trying to standardize how that comes out as well to make it easier, and you know this is coming. Oh, you know what the kind of message this is. In preparation for school semesters, we are now meeting with the Office of Registrar right before the school starts, and myself and Mr. Chad told me that you'll meet here shortly. He runs EAC, he's the IT director for FCM, and also space planning, Mr. Woody Sutton, and also facility service custodial, Ms. Liliana Simmons, which is here. Liliana, you want to wave at everybody? Thank you. So what does that do? That helps coordinate and make sure we're all on the same page with the Office of Registrar to try to make a better experience for our customers, for our students, for our faculty, to make sure that space custodial is taking care of them. The doors are unlocked, locked, whether it's a brass key, whether it's electronic access control. We just want to make sure that on our end as facilities that we make sure that we've done our part and make sure that we provide a more efficient process and experience for our occupants, our customers, and our faculty. The other thing that we've been working on is IT, and that's in a later presentation as well. That's part of the initiatives of revolutionizing customer service is electronic access control, and it's been a little hot topic as well, along with some other ones. And that's why we chose the topics today to discuss, what's going on with the FCM and how does it affect you? How does it affect your customers? What is the outcome? How do you play a role in it or not? And we're also looking at exploring more ways to fix it. We're perfecting the process now and making sure that our customers are priority number one. And also, we're looking at other opportunities for exploring the ways to fix it, which we're looking at an Autobot. We're also looking at QRC codes where you could just, scan it and then you start typing in your information. So we're looking at some other things like that as well to explore and better serve our customers to make sure they have many ways to get to us and fix it whenever it's needed 24/7. And so those are some of the initiatives we are working on as revolutionizing customer service as a department. Okay, here we are. So one of the big things that's a big change for the university is how we take calls, the structure we had with the previous call center structure that we had. So now we have a new call center that is outsourced of the university. And we have partnered with WorkQuest and the Lighthouse of Houston. Lighthouse of Houston is a blind and low vision nonprofit organization that we have partnered with. And we partnered with them in regards to this initiative for the state, and they're also a state agency under the state procurement organization. And with that being said, they're the ones answering your phones. And most of our staff, if I'm not mistaken, they're all 100% blind and visually impaired. But they have been doing an amazing job and trying to catch up with the University of Houston. Unfortunately, they got introduced for the first time to school start. And that was a big one for me too as well, because I was here when not that many people were going home and not working due to COVID. And so it was an eye-opener for me. It was an eye-opener for everybody to see how it can get and busy it could get for our customers 24/7, especially in residential housing and faculty coming back to classrooms and so forth. So it was an eye-opener. But the call center is progressing and getting better and better, and the department is getting better and better as well, and we continue to learn to try to perfect the procedures and better serve our customers and meeting with our customers and having that one-on-one with our customers as well. And so what the call center does, they are housed at the Lighthouse off of West Gray. They're 24/7. And then we also have we have customer service liaisons here, and the zone managers are part of the entire process before it gets to the technician. And we take care of all the calls, whether it's email, text, phone call, what's the other one? Online self-serve. And so the way they come in, and we have been setting up that structure and make sure that we have it together going forward, that we are more efficient with it as we move forward. So we ask you for a little bit of patience, but feel free to contact me if you have any questions. With that being said, the call center and the Lighthouse of Houston and WorkQuest, we partnered with the City of Houston and had a press release with the mayor, because he has an initiative in the City of Houston to employ or offer employment for people with disabilities and try to challenge other corporations and other companies and other businesses that can hire people to hire more people with disabilities. I think the unemployment rate was at 70-something% for them, because there's not many opportunities that people offer people with disabilities. So this was a great partnership to introduce to the community in Houston, and Mayor Sylvester Turner was very happy and adamant about it, and it was so important to him that he had a press release with us, the University of Houston and Lighthouse with him as a partnership for the community to advertise or use us as an example. Hey, they can do it for them, they can do it for them. Look what University of Houston's doing for people with disabilities. This is what we can do as a community for the rest of the city, for anybody else that can employ them. The operators, they use special equipment that is used for them. We, and you'll meet Ms. Dana here shortly, we create the material for them. We create the material in a certain kind of way, and then we pass it on to them, and we train them on a weekly basis. Just so you'll know, we train them on a weekly basis, and we're in communication with their managers every day until we perfect the process. But they go through training every week. We reiterate training, and we add something else to them. But all the equipment we give to them, we do it in a certain format, and then we pass it on to them, and then they do it in another format so it can be easily read back to them, and they do what they need to do so they can be our call center. Okay, here we go. This is our new structure as part of the call center. So we talked about the call center when the calls come in and so forth. Now we talk about the new structure that we have, the people here on campus that you will visually see, and that will be communicating with you, and they're assigned to you so they can be your partner, to be your voice with FCM and our technicians, and vice versa, because in both ways. There are relationship managers, but our zone managers we have 4 zone managers: auxiliaries, E&G, research, and business, and our customer service liaisons. They will be rotating throughout to make sure they service everybody and understand all the customers in case somebody's out and so forth, just for redundancy, but to make sure that y'all are aware of who they are. But the roles is that the customer service liaisons come out, they get a service request, and they go out to the whatever area it is in, just say that there's a problem with this light here. They will come up to the light and, I don't know, say Mr. Cannon's here, he's the one that turned in the service request. And so what they do is say, hi, Mr. Cannon, we received your service request, and at the same time when we're doing that, we're validating that that's the light on the left and not on the right, or whatever it may be, just to validate it, and to make sure we get the right technician, the right shop, to eliminate 1, 2, 3, 4 different diagnoses as well. So it'll eliminate that as well, and also to work and make sure that our service requests are turned into work orders immediately and efficiently, where it won't be going through several reiterations until somebody figures out who it belongs to. And that's the main role of the customer service liaisons. They also will be, they take calls, they will be dispatching as well. So it's a mobile backup to the call center, and also to dispatching the technicians. If they walk down down the sidewalk right here, and there's a hole, and there's an obstruction or safety issue, they're instructed to stay there and call the technician immediately, safeguard it, and don't let nobody else pass by there, so nobody else gets harmed. They inform them until the technician comes over and secures it. The technician arrives, they are able to leave to go do the rest of the campus. And again, the zone managers, as I told you, they will be your customer relationship manager that will be dedicated to you. And how does that work? Well, as I mentioned, call center takes the call, fix it at the door, which is our team. It goes to the technicians. The work order's closed. You will then get a survey to respond if you would like to or not. The only way we can keep on getting better is you respond to the survey or give us a phone call. Let us know how we can improve. We're all ears. We're here to improve. We're all in this together. We're all here to provide that ultimate customer experience to our students and our faculty. So we'd like to hear your feedback at all times. And all of that will provide that ultimate customer experience. Okay. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Can I ask all the liaisons and the zone managers and the assistant director to come up? I would like for all of y'all to meet the faces of the new program that we have. And like I said, they'll be reaching out. Some of you already have been seeing some of them. Some of you already have been communicating with them. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows the faces with a name as well. So we're going to go ahead and start with Ms. Dana, and she's the business zone manager. She manages the call center. You can talk to her about any questions or anything, or email her in regards to the call center questions or concerns, or myself during this time. Mr. Greg Henley, right now his hands are full. He is working on E&G and research for us until we fill the other vacancy. Ms. Janice Ware, she'll be she's dedicated to auxiliaries, so she's also concentrating on that, and she just started last week as well. Morgan, she's one of our customer service liaisons that goes to your facility to attend to any service request that has been submitted. Same thing with Yesenia. Yesenia helps with that as well, but she also helps in the business office to help prioritize and dispatch until we get everybody fully trained, and they're all be doing everything. Miss Olivia. Miss Olivia is another customer service liaison that helps Morgan and Yesenia to process those service requests throughout campus, and she's been here about 3 weeks. And I told them we might have to have a step challenge and make our team, make it a team for FCM so they could get us all our steps against the university. And then we have Mr. Jorge. He's another customer service liaison that you will see in your facilities, processing the service request, be talking to you as well. And Mr. Dwight Bradley, he's our newest member. His official start date is October 18th, but he's the new assistant director over this amazing team. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. What? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Will we get this information with all their names? Yes, absolutely. We're gonna give you a lot of information, and after the presentations, they all have their business cards, the zone managers, with their information. Then they can start communicating. Feel free to come talk to them and introduce yourself. And also, some of them will probably start walking around. And some of them, Mr. Bradley will probably leave a little earlier. He's still not our employee yet. But he was kind enough to come in. And so we can introduce him. I told him this is the best place to be introduced to everybody, because these are your customers. These are your partners. And so he said absolutely. So he made it in early this morning to go ahead and make sure that he develops that report, and then y'all know who he is, and he's another person you can reach out to. Mind you, all of us can be reached. If you can't reach one of us, call somebody else. You're not going to be a pest. If you continue, we sometimes have a lot of emails, so I'm letting you and apologize in advance. But any of us, you don't catch one of us, contact us. We're here to help. And also we have, we're trying to decipher through all of our emails and everything else. I'm also open. I have my cell numbers in my personal cell numbers in my signature line, and I take text, phone calls, whatever it may be. If I'm not in a meeting, I will take your phone call. Yes, ma'am.
Are the liaisons also specific to E&G auxiliary staff, or are they generic for the entire campus?
Right now, we're designating them specifically for different areas, but they're going to be generic for the entire campus. And I forgot to mention, you'll start seeing them around, and you could stop them if you don't see a face, but you might see a golf cart that says Fix It. It'll be like advertising the program, and so you can actually stop them. They're also going to be helping any of our campus community walking down the hall or down the sidewalk, and if somebody looks lost, they're going to say, you need some help? We can direct you. So-and-so. If they see somebody disoriented, they're going to stop and stay with them until the police can come out. They'll call the police as well. So they have a variety of roles, but their primary role is service requests to get it as accurate as it can be so that right technician can get to you without having to go 2 or 3 or 4 times. Any other questions? Yes. For all the liaisons, they should respond, and our bulletin came out that we have to respond within 24 business hours. Yes, sir. That's not really affected Well, if you have so you might have priorities, right? And so when service requests or emails or phone calls come in, and Mr. Benjamin's here as well, that he brought his awesome experience to the university as well, and he has developed different priorities of how technicians respond depending on the priority and level of calls. If you're asking on an average day, what's the normal business, a customer liaison will respond within 24-hour business day. But if there's something critical, immediately it gets resolved, especially if you call the call center. We can dispatch somebody immediately to your location, and if there are regular business hours, they come out because they're on campus, but just remember, after hours and weekends, it's not the case. They have to come from wherever they're at to come service the location. Yes, sir. So for us, yeah, well, also, if you call the call center and just tell them your research and, you know, what your priority is, because sometimes your priorities, you know, I don't know that your priority is. My standard is, come on in. So, yeah, I'm gonna let Jeff answer that, and he's also been working on some other initiatives as well.
Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Good question, Mike. So here's what we've been putting out for the last 3.5 years. We have three priorities: urgent, emergency, and routine. So if it's an emergency, you call the call center, we dispatch somebody immediately. They get there as soon as they can to address the problem. They have up to 2 hours to respond to a facility's emergency. If it's a fire or some other kind of emergency, call UHPD or 911, right? Don't call us first. If it's an urgent request, we respond as quickly as possible, but within 24 hours. So it'd be the first business day after the urgent request is put in. And then for routine, it follows the process Magda was just talking about, with somebody will come out, follow up, make sure that we have all the information for the work order and that kind of thing. We don't tell you what an emergency is. Like, we give some guidance on what emergencies are. Health, life safety risk, something that might cause excessive amount of property damage to the university, say $10,000 worth of damage if we don't fix it right away, that would be an emergency. Urgent would be something that could cause damage if it went unchecked, or is having a critical impact on operations. Hot and cold calls, things like that kind of fall into that nature. Now, obviously, if you're in a research situation, hot and cold calls might have a different impact because you got research that might be sensitive to heat and humidity or whatever. You got to kind of gauge that. We're not going to argue with you about whether you say it's an emergency or not. So, well, I say we shouldn't argue with you. Somebody might, but. Yeah, I mean, you're going to know better than us, but I would say this: if you think you can email it or text it, it's probably not an emergency. If it's an emergency, you should call it. Call it to the call center, and then follow up with somebody like myself or Mike Wheeler, Steve Shadow, or whoever in the shop that you normally deal with for those issues, to let them know that you've called it in. Don't call us first, because the first thing we're going to do is call a call center. So it's not saving you any time, but call the call center, let them know there's an emergency. They'll probably have somebody dispatched before anybody else can. So, but just look at it that way. So yeah, if you have a fume hood down that could be a life safety issue or whatever, and you say it's an emergency, tell them, hey, it's an emergency. We have certain things that we kind of have in a playbook, but it's not intended to be like the list. If it's not on that list, it's not an emergency. No, it's not intended to be that. It's a guide to say these kind of things are emergencies. There may be others. Does that help? All right. Great.
I just want to add to Mr. Benjamin's comment about emergencies. And these zone managers that you will have dedicated to you, you can also work with them, and when they start speaking your lingo, they'll understand what your emergencies are and so forth, and they can work those in as a actual guide to train the call center and the dispatch center to prioritize those as an emergency. So that's also another point that the zone managers can do for you as well when y'all start meeting and discussing and so forth, what your business is, what your lingo is, what priority is to you, that we probably wouldn't have thought it was an emergency. So that's where the zone managers also come in. That can be another resource and hired for you.
Where would we go on the website to find what you're just describing, the difference between urgent, emergency, and routine? Is that written out anywhere?
It is, I don't think it's explicitly written. No, that's right, yeah. So when we rolled this out it was October of 2018, I think, when we first started talking about this. I remember because it was right after Harvey, we were just still dealing with Harvey. We kind of presented what my plan was with this. We got comment feedback, and then I think we went live with it sometime in March of 2019. So there's some previous presentations that we have on it. I don't know that we've updated our website or have done it. Yeah, see, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces here. We've been talking about revamping our website since the day I arrived, and I just think, it's one of those things that just takes a lot of time and effort to kind of get fully done. Yes, ma'am.
The Welcome Center has had several issues with their AC.
Mhm.
Is that considered an emergency when it's an hour turnaround and we have, say, maybe, up to 150 people just in the
Yeah.
west wing of the building?
It might be an emergency to you, absolutely. But typically, HVAC issues are more of comfort than life safety. So we don't really consider those emergencies. We consider them urgent. So we would categorize those as urgent work orders. And our response time on those is usually, well, no, I mean, our response time on urgent work orders is 24 hours as the max, but we are typically responding the same day to those. So we may not be able to correct the issue. That's a different part of this. I mean, even with emergency work orders, the purpose of responding is to stop the emergency and then reclassify it and deal with whatever caused the emergency. So we may not fix the problem right then and there on an emergency work order. We may have to get other resources brought in to fix the damage or fix whatever the source was. Same thing with an HVAC issue. If it's just a matter of adjusting the set points, very easy to do. It takes a couple minutes. But if a chill water pump or something like that has, fallen apart and is no longer pumping chill water through the building, well, that can have a 6-week lead time. So it just really depends, on what the situation is. But we typically treat hot and cold calls, whatever the source, as urgent. Yeah. Sure. I need more details on that specific one. Do you have a work order number or anything that I could look into? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what building are you in? What building? Where? The Law Center. Well, there's a reason we're building a new Law Center, right? Okay. Yeah, I mean, we try to respond as quickly as possible. We try to correct the situation. No. Look, I've got buildings that are older than yours that have worse problems. I'll just be honest with you. Ask the folks, anybody here from Agnes Arnold Hall? Yeah, I mean, there's buildings that are just really rough and in bad shape, and we try to keep them running as well as possible. A lot of the challenges are the equipment that we have to fix is beyond its useful lifespan. We can't even get parts for it, so we have to, source parts. Sometimes that takes a couple weeks. If it's related to like when we had the freeze this last winter and we had so many broken coils, I mean, ask Mike Mahaney back there. We just put one in Houston Science Center last week and got it fixed. That's been 6 months. So it really, we work as quickly as possible, but there are factors that we don't control. We don't control the supply chain. We don't control the availability of materials. We don't control the availability of the replacement parts. You know, and yes, there are ways to minimize that. The university has not invested well in its facilities over the years. So when you don't do that capital renewal and upgrade your equipment on a frequent basis, you know, you get 30, 40-year-old pieces of equipment that you just can't get parts for. So, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna check.
Yeah. I see. Hmm. Well, well, sorry you experienced. Yeah, that's his role. That's his job. Yeah, and that's part of this initiatives that we're working on. You know, it's not just the things that I mentioned today. We talked about, and like I said, we are working on revamping our website. Mr. Benjamin's working on a lot of procedures and processes within his organization as well to end up with the better results. But I just wanted to let y'all know that we're going to continue with our presentations. We have other people that are presenting and some that have to leave. But Mr. Benjamin will be here till the end of the meeting, and I will be here to the end of the meeting. The zone managers will be here to the end of the meeting, so y'all can come and ask us any questions that you would like or discuss anything else that you would like to bring up as well, and we'll be glad to answer those questions. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the next presenter, Mr. Gabriel Durham, and he's with our planning section. Oh, sorry. Well, while he's setting up.
Oh, perfect. I just come prepared.
Oh, okay, no worries. You can't never be over-prepared. All right, thank you, Magda. And again, we're learning through this process. I'm going to throw this out there. We might have to do a town hall meeting of all this. But it'll be good feedback. That's the only way we can improve. If we don't know what's wrong, we can't fix it, or we can't improve. All right, so for those of you who signed in, there is a number next to your name. So I'm gonna pick out a number and have a prize for y'all. And at the end, you know, before everyone leaves, we're gonna be handing out a gift for you all. Can y'all hear me? I was not on the mic. Y'all hear the, you know, it's like in the Teams meeting, your mic's not on, you're on mute. Let me know. All right. So, here we go. We have number 43. I had numbers up to 100, so I need to get a number. Oh, here we go. Number 17, Mr. Benjamin. Do you want to give your gift away? I'm sure you have plenty of we're giving away. Oh, blank. All right, let's see. I should have taken all the extra numbers. Nope. Gabriel. And by the way, today is his birthday. And mine was yesterday, just FYI. And I did not get to party because I had to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today. There's always Friday. All right, so up next we have Gabriel Durham.
Is it the next slide?
Yeah, just press down.
Okay, great. Hey everybody, yeah, 32 today, pretty cool. I actually did just get back from Enchanted Rock. I like to camp a lot, so I was there earlier this week, so ready to present to you all. I'm the sustainability coordinator. If you haven't met me before, the office used to be in auxiliary services. We've been transferred over to facilities now, hence why I'm getting to be here talking to y'all and working on these new initiatives. So we cover anything related to sustainability you might be curious about. I'm going to do a bigger training presentation later this month to cover all the big details, but for today, I'm covering some very specific initiatives I think are going to be helpful to everybody's general knowledge. First off, we're going to talk about plexiglass coming up on the university. So plexiglass is that stuff we put up all over since Corona, right? The plexiglass shields, plexiglass face masks, they're everywhere. And a lot of people have been asking that are interested in sustainability, can those be recycled, right? Or what am I going to do with these when they all start to come down? So I'm here to answer these questions and let you know how to go through that process. So just in case you didn't know, plexiglass is actually acrylic. And acrylic is a kind of plastic that we don't recycle in our single-stream recycling here at UH. So first off, no matter what, don't put it in the recycling if you've got it. It's not going to end up going where you want it to go. So that's lesson number one. So the question then becomes also, what are we going to do with it then, if you want to make sure that this gets disposed of in a proper way? First off, if any of you building coordinators get people asking to take down the plexiglass, I'm going to first ask anybody to be able to store it if you can. You know, this stuff is fairly thin. If you take all of them from around a building and you stack them on top of each other and maybe put them in a corner of a storage closet, you know, the order of things is reduce, reuse, recycle, right? Recycle is your last option. And we don't know, maybe a bad flu comes around, maybe there's some other reason we need to be more protective. And if you just have them in the back of a closet, they're not going to spoil like food. So it's a good way to just keep them around. And also, we don't have right now the entire university taking them all down at once, so we don't want to organize any centralized pickups. So for now, as a building coordinator, if you get a call about plexiglass, just say, hey, can you store it for now, and we'll let you know if you really need to get rid of it. So that then leads to step two. If they have a lot of plexiglass, say like this is athletics, right? And athletics has said, we want to take it all down. We know that the university isn't doing an initiative right now, but as athletics, we want it all gone. We actually have a recycler that we can have who takes just acrylic. So this is really nice because any type of recycling that's a single material is way easier to handle as far as reproduction and reuse than a whole bunch of different kinds of plastic. There's all kinds of plastic all over the world. So if you get a call and somebody says, hey, I don't have a place to store this, I've got a lot of plexiglass I need to get taken care of, go ahead and just have them give me a call or email me, and my email's right up there. I also have cards on me if anybody needs them. So just so more about that, it's a group called Texas Plexiglass Recycling. They actually come out for free to pick this stuff up. There just needs to be a good amount of it. So that leads us to step three for, say UH makes the announcement, we get the email from President Couture, COVID is over, it's totally done, we're making everything go back to the way it was before, there's a big old fanfare, and we need to get rid of all this plexiglass at once, right? That's a big mobilization project. So what we're gonna do in that case when that does happen is we're actually going to then organize a central pickup location. If you remember, have any of you attended my electronics waste drive? Carrie knows, yeah. So essentially that's when I set up a central location in front of the student center and I just say, hey, I'm gonna be here from 9 to 5, everybody from campus, bring this to a central location, and then I'll call the recycler, he'll have his truck out and we'll load it all right up into the back of the truck and he'll take it away for us. Sounds pretty cool, right? And then we can also make sure that that recycler is taking care of making sure that that does become new acrylic or some other product versus ending up in a landfill. And another public service announcement. Do everything you can to make sure this plexiglass does not end up in the trash. If this ends up in the trash, there's all kinds of problems it can have. It can be very sharp. It can break in various different directions. So if it ends up in a compactor or one of the big bellies or things like that, those angles and things can do a lot of damage to equipment that we don't want to see happen. So number one, don't recycle it. Number two, keep it out of the trash. Then once people are starting to get rid of it and dispose of it, follow these 3 steps. Store it if you can. And you can also let them know that they won't need to store it forever because we will eventually have a centralized acrylic recycling drive. You can let them know that's not scheduled yet, there isn't enough of it, but when we do have enough of it, we'll schedule a pickup for you. Step 2, if they have a lot, store it. That's, by the way, that picture over there, that's a Gaylord box. That's what I mean in that, a Gaylord box or a pallet worth. So fill one of those full, and then we can come and take it off your hands. And then step 3, you'll all get an email about it. We'll all do a central planning thing. Once we get the announcement, we'll take it all off of campus when we start doing some centralized collection. Make sense, everybody? Yeah? Any questions? Oh man, I got off the hook easy. Thank you. That's a good birthday present, right? All right. Cool. All right, next is just kind of general information about our Green Office program. So Green Office is a pretty cool thing that I'm actually launching to all you business coordinators because you're kind of the main point of contact for a lot of what this would entail. So sustainability has all kinds of factors from, air quality inside of buildings to how you recycle to how well you take care of your paper, all these kinds of things. And so we've launched, this was actually probably since 2016 we've been doing this. There's about 5 departments on campus that are certified, where they go through a checklist. It's kind of a grassroots way to make campus more sustainable versus changing policy and things like that. And eventually it's going to build into our LEED system as well, and it's easy. So first off is the Green Office checklist. This is on my website. It's just a basic Excel sheet. It's already kind of pre-made for you, like a kind of click yes or no kind of format. It auto-tabulates things for you. And once you've got that downloaded, if you go through it, you'll actually see that you might already be doing a lot of things in your office that would be considered sustainable that you're not getting credit for. Over in GSB, we have one central printer room, and we're past the days of everybody having printers at their own desks like it was back in the 90s and early 2000s. You actually get credit for that because by centralizing your printing, you're reducing demand on ink and paper and all these kinds of things, and you can help regulate the energy usage. One printer is a lot better than a bunch of different printers plugged in all day over the building. So you actually get sustainability credit for that as being more green for your office. So I like to encourage people that you might actually get a silver score or a bronze score for your department by just doing what you're already doing, because sustainability is something UH has been pursuing for a while, and it's kind of starting to work its way through our different departments. So I highly encourage you guys to not be intimidated by this. Don't think by doing the Green Office checklist you're going to have to do all new stuff. There's a good chance you're already doing a lot of things that I want to give you credit for, right? So if you fill it out, figure out what you're already doing, click through. And then, you might have to ask around a little bit. There's some questions about like how many houseplants are in the building, because that helps with indoor air quality. There's certain things about printing double-sided as a default on your printer that you might not know the answer to. So the second step would be going around and asking the people in your building that you're responsible coordinating for some things on the checklist that you think might actually be doable that could then be easily done with the partners in your building. And then once you get that base score, you might realize, hey, I'm only 2 points away from a silver, otherwise I'd be a bronze. Then maybe you can call me and say, hey, we've got all these, we know we're doing all this, but we think we might be able to eke it up to silver. And then we can come over, I'll come out to your building, we'll walk around, we'll look at the break room, we'll look at the printing offices, we'll look at things like that. And maybe we can find those last 2 points to say, hey, you weren't doing this before, but here's an easy change, and it bumps your score up to silver, and then I get to make you a plaque, which is pretty cool. So as you see over here, that's the gold plaque. Student Centers is our only gold-rated building right now, and so they're kind of our big, go-to as far as like best practices, which is great. And you can see them holding the plaque there. They get to hang it up in their main building. It's made out of all eco-friendly materials and that kind of stuff, so even the plaque is fairly low footprint. So that's essentially how it goes. And then after you get your certification, you can either end it there, or we can keep a conversation going about, hey, we got silver, how do you think we can get gold? And then we can kind of go and look through and figure out what kind of things you might do to make your office even more sustainable. And if you get gold, I'll write a whole press release about you. So I'll make sure it ends up on UH Today or something like that. I have good friends over at UH Today. So say, hey, the Science and Research Building is now a silver-rated sustainability building, and I'll talk about how you're reducing water, how you're reducing electricity, all these kinds of things. And that's not just good for the university as far as all of our, flexible, budgets and things like that. It's also just good for the planet, which I'm sure you've all heard ever since you were little. So that's the Green Office checklist. I highly encourage you all to reach out to me and see what it's about. We're doing a few pilot ones now that I've been transferred to facilities in the GSB with our planning department and with eventually our facility services department. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it can save us all some money and also make us all live a little bit longer and all that good stuff. So any questions about the Green Office program? Yeah.
I just want to mention it's very easy, and I manage the third oldest building on campus, and we are proud to be bronze. We will never have silver or gold, but we are proud to be bronze. There's just no, like Gabe and I have worked together, and there's just not ways some of our older buildings can get to the level they need to get to. But
Yeah.
house plants.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have to with those. But I think the thing is, don't be intimidated because it is super easy. It could just be changing the paper you're purchasing from Tejas. But also, even bronze gets a plaque.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sustainable. It's made out of wood. So don't
Yeah. Thank you very much, Carrie. Yeah, Cullen Performance Hall was a great one. We also got, part of a separate initiative, we got a bunch of recycling units for Cullen, so thank you so much for all your stuff you've been doing for the Performance Hall, Carrie. Yeah. It's also cool that you bring up this factor of the older buildings, because I said it's going to factor into the LEED building. As you may or may not know, all new buildings at UH are going to be built to LEED certifications and then certified silver. If we have the inhabitants of that building doing this green office checklist, we get innovation credit for that building for operations and maintenance, which is a pretty big deal. LEED's an international organization, and they've actually told us we're the first people doing this as an innovation credit for building of buildings. So we could set the standard for a lot of other people around the world as far as good stewards of operation and maintenance for our buildings that we're investing a lot of money in right now. So yeah, that's all I had. So if you don't have any questions, that's it for me. So thank you all so much.
Today, right? Yeah. So he'll also be presenting on the staff council meeting today, so we can hear him out there as well. Anybody else have a birthday today or yesterday or in October? October babies here? Oh, borderline. All right, so up next we have, not as cool. Up next we have electronic access control, and that's Chad, Tommy, and Magda. Both of y'all, right? All right, thank y'all.
And we have a lot of hot but awesome topics for you all. And Gabe is just awesome with this program, and it's good to know that the University of Houston's heavily involved in that, and it's growing, so that's really, really good. Hope several of y'all reach out to him and try to get certified. It'll be nice to know as a alumni that we're going that way. So now we're going to talk about the other famous topic, electronic access control. Where are we with it? Where it's going? And how we need your help. Okay, so, go ahead, Chad.
Microphone's on. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. I think I met with this group at the beginning of the year when EAC was first moved to technology. In the right order? I think my slides got put out of order, but that's okay. We'll work with it. So this year, we've been working on a lot of things with EAC. Now that it's part of facilities, we're doing our best to inventory and audit all of our systems, all of our equipment, all of our people, and all of our users. So earlier this summer, we did a DAU audit with this group. Hopefully you guys weren't caught too off guard by the email. We definitely needed the building coordinators to identify to us who are the department access users. So the department access users are actually identified in the MAP policies. I think the most common question I got from everybody was, what is a DAU? So when we transferred EAC from campus security systems to facilities, we heard that term a lot, and I think I assumed it was more widespread than it is. So I appreciate everybody that responded. I got about 2/3 of the people to respond, and I'm still going to try to push to get that last third of the results. So according to MAP policy, the building coordinator, they are in charge of delegating who is the DAU, right? So the department access user is the person that works in, right now it's the Linnell OnGuard system. We're migrating to the Access Insight system. So they are the main person for your building who's going to be delegating access. So very important. Why does the building coordinator make that assignment or work with the departments to make that assignment? DAUs can't just appoint themselves. So we have received phone calls. Hey, I want to be the DAU for the building. I want to be able to assign access. Well, no, I can't just give that to somebody. I need to have it go through proper channels, proper approvals. We need to make sure that we're ensuring the safety of the buildings. So the building coordinator, this group, this is your role to make sure that you are assigning the right people and to make sure you're communicating with us who those right people are. The MAP policy does also indicate that there's a minimum of 2 DAUs. That way there's a primary and a backup. People have vacations, and we need to make sure that we're still operating during those times. So that's pretty important. The policy does say a maximum of 4 DAUs. And some of the bigger buildings with lots of different departments, there might be a need to have more people be able to delegate access to smaller secured areas within the buildings. Yeah, I don't think we did. So that's okay, we'll wing it. All right, so what does the DAU do? They're the person that we provide training to manage the software. So EAC and Facilities IT, we definitely assist, but we've only got 2 full-time staff for the whole campus. So we do help with a lot of phone calls. We help, when we get requests to help with the software. But we definitely want to make sure that the DAU is trained and prepared to manage the system themselves within their area. So their main goal is to assign access to the building's perimeter doors and secured areas. So this is a pretty important position, right? They're the people that can hand the figurative key to the building. So if there's a hurricane and we have to secure the building to card-only mode, the DAU is going to say who can actually access that building after hours or during, Christmas breaks, holidays. So if you need to get into your building during a weather event or some other incident, when it's a secured card only, you're going to want to make sure that DAU is on top of their job and making sure that everybody that needs access has access. We as facilities, we can't make that decision for your groups and your teams and your buildings. You guys need to make that judgment within the buildings and departments. Very important, they are also the people that revoke privileges or remove people. So, as people leave your department and they no longer have business needs in your buildings after hours, it's important that the DAU is on top of that. They're monitoring it, they're auditing it, and making sure that those people have the permissions removed. We do see quite a bit of that on campus. Within the system, if somebody leaves the university, PeopleSoft will remove them from the software and their card access would no longer work. Where it is an issue is when people stay in the university but move from department to department. So the DAUs need to make sure that they're on top of that, keeping everything up to date, safe, and secure. All right, so what we're trying to do with this audit with you guys, and again, a third of you have not responded, and I'm going to start making cold calls and really try to get this information. We're trying to verify that the DAUs are still with the department, because during this procedure, we found that this person still had access to control access to the building for a department they no longer work with, right? So we don't get that information, so we need to make sure that you guys give it to us. There's also people that have been added to the system over the years before it came to us. We definitely want to make sure that these are the right people, and these are the people that should have this authority in your buildings. We also need a good path of communication. We get lots of calls, especially when school started. Students would call, I need access to this dorm room. Well, I don't even know if you're supposed to be in that building or that dorm, right? So we need to know, who do we call? Who's the person that we refer them to? If there's somebody that says, I can't get in my office, I need to know who to reach out to say, hey, you need to confirm with this person. Let's try to get them into their office as soon as possible, if in fact that's where they're supposed to be. So we want to make sure we have those good lines of communication. Also, as Magda's going to mention in just a minute, we are switching software. This is a campus-wide initiative. Linnell OnGuard, the version that we're currently using is it's old, out of date. It's operating on servers that are getting old and out of date. It's becoming unsupportable. So we are migrating to the new software, and we need to know who are those people designated to receive the training. So this is very important that we have that good communication, that we get good training out, and people are prepared for this migration. We're also going to have to possibly evaluate security zones, make sure that all the users are up to date. When we do that migration on Friday, we want to make sure that Saturday you guys can get into the building if you need to. So we definitely need to have these people identified. We have to have them trained, ready to go, and within our lines of communications. Any quick questions about the DAUs? Yes?
Quick question. So I just wanted to verify two things. One, if, like you said, we're in card lockdown mode and they have 24-hour access to the building, if they don't have their card for whatever reason, will they still be verified with UHPD like they used to?
They should be, yes. UHPD should still be vetting before they let anybody into a building.
I mean, I still encourage them to always carry their card.
Absolutely. It's actually a campus requirement to carry your card at all times. It does happen, and UHPD would be the appropriate channel in that situation.
And then the second thing, is the lock shop under y'all, not under y'all?
So they're under Jeff. We do work very closely together. It's a relationship where we definitely do have to work close together. There are some instances where the lock shop might think it's a programming issue, we think it's a hardware issue. So we're doing our best to make our communications better and make sure that we get on site at the same time to resolve the situation. Sometimes, if it's a hardware issue, we're on site trying to help them. If it's a software issue, they're still on site with us. And sometimes we do have to escalate and have it escalate to a project with an outside contractor. Hi.
So strangely, saw you at coffee yesterday. I'm moonlighting, I like to say, in the Cougar Card office. That is not my official job, but I am helping. And we had a conversation yesterday that there are a lot of people with the red Cougar Card. So as building coordinators, if you see someone with the red Cougar Card, or if anyone in this room with the red Cougar Card, if you could please encourage them to pick up their new Cougar Card, because the red one is not a smart card. It does not have a chip, so it will not work on what I like to call the doors. So, FYI on that. But, also, one thing I wanted to mention is that with Cougar Card, there was a recarding process that happened with an outside vendor. So if the back of your card or the back of your staff member's card who's frustrated at you says 12/1 of 19, they need to activate that card and access UH. If it's not activated, they're not going to be able to get in the door. So a lot of the calls that we get, my card won't work, they assigned access, my card won't, they haven't activated it. And that's only for faculty, staff, and students who were around in 12/1/19. So anyone previous to that who printed in the office, it's going to be activated immediately. But I just wanted to mention that. A question I have are there any opportunities for training in Linnell currently, because we have a building coordinator who I want to also have access to be able to use in the sign access.
So absolutely, we are still supporting Linnell. It's still going to be here for a little while. This is going to be a major project to get through every building on campus. We have thousands and thousands of readers. There's going to be infrastructure challenges. Some readers might have to be replaced if it's on a marble wall. You know, things are going to slow us down. So we're going to be supporting Linnell. So absolutely, we do have the EAC@uh.edu email. That's a great place to request training. We will definitely need approval from a building coordinator to make sure that say, hey, yes, this is approved, this is legitimate, this person has the authority to assign access to our building, and then we will provide training.
If they are a building coordinator.
That's perfect. Building coordinators may appoint themselves, and a lot of you guys do. You guys have that power, and you're actually perfectly poised to be a DAU. So that's great. A lot of building coordinators have lots of other responsibilities, can't do it. That's fine as well. So building coordinators, you are free to appoint yourself. We check with Erica. She keeps her list of building coordinators, and then, you know, we would just start with training.
Okay, it used to be in person. Is it?
It depends. I think we would probably try a Teams training, make everybody more comfortable. We are out and about on campus, we are masked up when we do that, and if you guys want us in your office, we can accommodate. But
Oh, so it's like a one-on-one thing.
yeah, especially with Linnell, because we're not doing that much training. Once we get the Access Insight, it'll be a much bigger initiative. We'll have to reach out to lots of people at once. Try to keep it segmented so the groups aren't too big, but there will be group trainings.
Okay, and sorry, one more PSA. The Cougar Card office cannot assign access. So any departments that send their staff or residents to the Cougar Card office, we cannot assign access at all.
I am so glad you're in the room, because we are seeing a lot of this, and we're trying to work closely with the Cougar Card access. And yes, and people that have been sitting at home have not been activating that card for the last year and a half. So that has been a big issue, and it does delay getting people access to their individual rooms.
And we still have 1,200 cards in the office that haven't been picked up by faculty, staff, and students from that project. So we know there are red cards out there.
Say that again, Jeff? Yeah. So we do have lots of things, people maybe rely on the flashing lights of the individual readers a little too often. Sometimes you swipe, it doesn't turn green, and you're afraid, you just assume it's not working. A lot of times it's working. So definitely yeah, do try to pull the door. And then a lot of door handles don't actually turn. So we get a lot of calls that it's broke because the door handle's meant to just be pulled and opened. So it's a little tip of the day. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Magda's going to have more information on that. We're definitely right now working on the priorities and all that kind of stuff. A lot of readers won't necessarily have to be changed themselves. The software behind it needs to be changed, and then we would do more of a firmware update on the panel and the reader. So our goal is not at this point in time to replace every reader, but we'd need to upgrade and kind of work on the background of it, the infrastructure. I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. I know that some buildings may have had a major renovation. We didn't want to necessarily pay to put in Linnell and the next year pay to transfer it to Access Insight. So we may have done a project, installed a lot of readers that are on the Access Insight system. We will probably try to get you all on Access Insight as maybe a higher priority so that you're not managing two systems. I'm not sure if that sort of answered your question. The other readers, we may have to replace some, but not all of the readers will have to be replaced to get the entire building on the system.
Can I piggyback? So, if there is a need to replace readers and other equipment or whatever, who's gonna pay for that?
I'm going to let Magda answer that. That's a great question.
And then the other thing is, we've been hearing about transferring from Monroe to the new system for a while. Have a timeline?
I will say it's definitely getting closer. It's getting ready to be put on the marketplace for bidding. All that background's getting done. I have one of my David Bergman's here. He's been working with us to sort of get Access Insight working properly. It's been in the quads, I think, for just over a year now. There were lots of server set nuances that need to be done. Bugs that need to be worked out. We also found that the server didn't meet the requirements of the software, so we've been working on a lot of that back-end stuff so that once we start rolling it out across campus, we don't repeat some of those heartaches that were done at the quads. That's been going on for the last year. We definitely feel a lot more confident with the system. We have more confidence with the servers and the databases to support the system. So it's definitely coming soon and quick, and Magda will talk about the priorities of how that's going to roll out. And yes, so the DAUs, we have to know who they are so this process can go smoothly. So I'm going to send out the survey one more time. If you've already done your due diligence, ignore me. I apologize for cluttering your inbox. But if you have not done it, please take the time to give us the response so that we can get moving.
Awesome. So this presentation is a little bit modified because it was more of internal, but I'm able to go ahead and work with it. To explain to y'all electronic access control, better known as EAC. What is that? That's your Google card, and your Google card has a chip, and it also lets you into the door, or uses a stripe to let you into the door of your building if it has electronic access control. It could be into the door, exterior door, it could be an internal door to your actual classrooms. Just now, FCM just took over this. I've been here a year and a half, and after I got here, we were given EAC. It was part of another department, so a lot of the decisions in regards to the type of hardware, the type of software, and everything else was previously done and decided upon before we took it over in FCM. So I just wanted to put that out there. This is very brief, and it was just me trying to simplify it to other individuals how electronic access control works. And there's different types of logs. This is just one that actually goes through there that if you swipe or tap your card at the door, it reads to something in the ceiling, and it reads back to a mechanical closet if it's an exterior door, and then it goes to the application itself for the IT staff. And then we also have our awesome, this is Chad Tomey's team right here, the electronic access control team, Jesus and Mr. Rudy. And here is the building coordinator, or the DAU, sitting right here. And this is how it gets started when we issue out a card with the Cougar Card office. And thank you, Carrie, for all and everything that you said. In fact, I think you should have just came up and gave us a presentation on this, because it's true. A lot of people confuse and get aggravated and get upset. And what we try to do with the building coordinator program is educate, inform as much as we can. And our staff is always available to answer questions. We might not get to you as soon as possible, right away, but we try our best. If not, keep on bugging us, because we want to be as transparent as we can be. So the more that you know, the better experience we can provide to the customers. The more that you know the processes, the better it is to understand and explain or try to submit something that you need and so forth, so we can make sure that we address it immediately. So, Linnell. It was decided on in previous history here at the university. Linnell was a chosen company, and other vendors we have different types of readers, and there's a variety of readers that we have on campus. Some of them are at risk for security. When we say at risk, it's at risk for security issues. Sometimes people say that they can magnetize, just like your credit card can. People can take it, or they can demagnetize it or whatever. We've been told that also that can happen with our Cougar Card and so forth with older technology, because when technology starts moving, the safeguards start getting removed. And so with that being said, we have a lot of outdated stuff that's on campus throughout. Some of it is functional and it still works and does the job for right now. And our job is to change it and migrate it to the current technology along with the actual hardware of today's, and make sure that it's sustainable for the next 10, 15 years as an asset for the university in its future life. Any questions on the history and these beautiful locks? As you can see, we have a variety. Some have pin pads along with the stripes, some are tap. We have all sorts of locks out there, and it's our job to do this transition. We have quite an amount of locks on campus that we have here. It's a legacy system that we have. And as Chad mentioned earlier, that Linnell itself, although our staff is trying to keep it alive on campus, it's no longer supported. We don't have vendors that want to touch our stuff. We don't have a software company that wants to touch our stuff unless we throw them a lot of money. So this technicians and IT and our EAC specialists are trying very hard to keep it going for the university. Meaning the software is no longer supported, you cannot get upgrades on it and so forth. The actual locks themselves also are very hard to find a vendor to actually fix, or our technicians try to do a really good job to keep them going for the university and until we make those changes. Some of the vulnerabilities that comes with having a dated software and hardware, and also with putting in something, you want to make sure that it's up to code and it's up to the safety standards and so forth. So if you're an electrician, you want to make sure that the codes of that panel's done correctly, that the wires are all packaged correctly and dressed correctly and so forth. And with that being said, we found that there's a lot of stuff here and there. Is it bad? No. Can we make it better? Yes. So some of those vulnerabilities I have addressed here, like we have battery backup, we don't have battery backups, we don't have dressed panels and so forth. We have multiple hardware locks that we have out there. That means the hardware's in the door, in the frame, and then upwards. And so there's different types of hardware that happen, but for exterior doors, you have a lot of hardware inside that door. So the door starts becoming heavy and everything else. So there's a lot of complexities with just keeping up with that door, just so y'all know, in the frame. And so with having a legacy system, you're going to start seeing a lot of those issues if you haven't start experiencing them already. And it's our job to try to address all those vulnerabilities as we do this transition. This is our current software map for for the campus. What you see here is, in red, is our legacy system, Linnell, that is no longer supported on the software side, and it's no longer supported on the hardware side. When I say no longer supported, no exterior vendors, little, slim to none, are out there to support it. So we are relying on our internal U of H team members to continue to repair these and troubleshoot these and make them continue to work. The red is Linnell. The green is Access Insight. Some of the facilities already have Access Insight in their facilities. Some buildings have both, and I think MD Anderson here is one of the ones that has a little bit of both. So I'm gonna give you an example that has both. Just because it says it has both does not mean that Access Insight is the majority of the building. The majority is Linnell, but it might have, like the turnstiles that when you come in, that have card access during their turnstiles, that is Access Insight. So you can see that it's just a small component in that building. They decided to put in Access Insight, the current hardware, I guess because they had the need and they had the software to, the funds to go ahead and do that. What's our objective? We want to make sure that we work closely with the Cougar Card office to make sure that we keep up with their technology. We are in 2021. We want to be able to see if we can use the virtual phone as their Cougar Card to be able to open the doors as well. That's our plan to move forward to that, but we need the hardware and the software to match that as well. So we're working very closely with the Cougar Card office, Office of Registrar Office, UIT, our department, and which is my IT team, which is the EAC specialist, and Mr. Benjamin's team, the lock shop, along with the police department. We're a committee and a team members that are working on this initiative for the entire campus university to keep it sustainable for the next 10 to 15 years. And there you go. We're trying to make sure that we go away from the magnetic stripe in the back of your card and just go to proximity, meaning that you could just tap your card or web pass by it, or use your virtual phone as your Cougar Card to be able to let you in and give you access to that actual door. Again, it takes a big collaboration to do this. It's a big initiative. We want to make sure that you and our customers are safe and that we can safeguard the campus in immediate need. If there's a campus shooter or anybody else, I've been told that I have to deliver a big red button, which is the big red button for the police department to make sure everybody's safe in here and this whole campus, that we can actually that the police department can press a button and shut down all the exterior doors on campus. And it takes this collaboration right here to make it work. We have priorities that we have established, which is exterior doors and migrate software and servers. Just because this is 1 and 2 does not mean that both of them aren't going. Actually, we have flip-flopped those. They're both going to be parallel projects on the campus. We are starting with migration, though, and we probably reach out to you for your assistance when we start converting. And but to tie back to Mr. Chad said, it's critical that we communicate and find out who your DAU is, so we can start working with them, start planning with them, because this migration is very significant to your safety, to the customer safety, and the future of this campus regarding electronic access control. So with that being said, along with this audit and so forth, that is what leads up to helping initiate this plan, and we cannot do it without your help. Offline readers, as you mentioned earlier, somebody had asked about the actual readers and if they'll be changed out. The actual readers will be changed out eventually, but several engineers already have tested it and proved to us that most of the locks that we have on campus are migratable, that we could switch over and program those and start using the actual software for them. Does not mean that we're not going to change over to the new lock. It's a slowly progression. Of course, I wish the state gave the university tons of money for everything to get it all done, but that's not the case. But everything doesn't happen overnight. It has to have a transition to build the actual this whole initiative. So we're going to start with migration, finish securing the exterior doors that have not been secured. When I say that, they're not electrified, meaning that they don't have the hardware in the actual door and so forth. So those are the two big initiatives that we are working on right now to make happen for this fiscal year. So please, please communicate with Chad's team and EAC. make sure that your data and information is correct. We're going to go through training. We're going to meet with you in regards to your needs to make sure the new software knows that new software can meet your needs, because Linnell has over 37,000 access levels, and that's why the system cannot be upgraded or supported, because it was not controlled. We now have a smart system that has parameters. So now we have to work very closely to make sure we're on those parameters and make sure we're meeting your needs. And with that being said, we will not accomplish this without your help. And EAC is a big initiative. We're working with 2 systems currently, with unsupported vendors out there for the old stuff and into the new stuff, and with the financials and everything else, and also with the time and constraints that have to happen with this entire project for the next sustainable 10 to 15 years, make it sustainable for the next 10 or 15 years. Again, it's not going to be able to happen without your help. And with that is to provide that ultimate customer service experience to our customers, making sure their cards are working when they're supposed to be working, their schedules are working, their dorms are working, and to be able to shut it down for your safety. Any questions? I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Come here, Miss Erica. And he's also new to our campus. He's been here and jumped in during the pandemic as well, the end of January? January. So I always say new. If we haven't had a year, I'm still saying I'm new because I've been here a year and a half and haven't experienced a whole real school year. But a lot of y'all know Miss Erica. She's our popular Miss Erica in FCM. Her voice is on the Fix-It line and so forth. And she used to manage the key services, the brass keys throughout campus. And a very important job also for your security and safety as well. And we appreciate her services. And I just wanted to say thank you for Erica, because she moved on and she promoted within the department and has taken on other roles and responsibilities, which she'll be presenting later on this at the end. But the person that replaced Miss Erica is Mr. Cannon Weinreiter. For those of you who have not met Mr. Cannon, he is now over key services, over brass keys, and he can attend to all your needs. And he's going to go ahead and present next. I just wanted to make sure all of y'all know the transition that we did in FCM, because it's important to have those relationships and know who's who. Who can you go to hurry up and get it done? So go, take it away, Cannon.
Y'all can still email me.
Y'all still do.
I'll get with Cannon.
Thank you, Magda. Good morning, everybody. Yes, Cannon Weinreiter, Key Access Services Manager. Myself, along with Ana Sanchez, make up your Key Access Services team. I don't feel that new. I went to school here, so I feel like I've been here forever. But I work with a lot of you guys, so it's nice to finally see you and kind of meet y'all in person, because I don't think y'all really seen my face, or some of y'all have. But regardless, so we're Key Access Services, and we work with the lock shop. Our office specifically, we distribute keys for everybody on the campus. We verify that people are supposed to, that if everyone's approved for the keys, they we distribute them. We have keys that are returned to us. We process lost keys. So we do a lot. So today, I'm going to go over kind of the key order process. Some building coordinators are heavily involved with this, and some are not. So the ones that are not, I kind of ask that you maybe pass this information along to the people that are responsible for ordering keys, and maybe even new hires that come along that have this responsibility. It answers a lot of questions that we get very, very frequently, and kind of just shows them the right path on how to go about this. So what do I do? Just push along here? There we go. So starting on ordering keys, obviously we know that there's various levels of keys. We'll start with building master keys. We do not distribute building master keys out of, the purpose of that is campus safety and security. It's something that was discussed a few years back, and there's really no exceptions on it at the moment. We do have submaster keys. There's going to be a different process on ordering a submaster key versus an individual key. So the submaster key is actually going to be done through a form that you would get from our website. It's important to note that the form needs to be filled out by a VP, or signed rather, by a VP or dean for a department, and also their certifying signatory. So sometimes we'll get like a director, assistant director, something along those lines. Those will get sent back. It also helps if you kind of include the best detailed information of the spaces that you need. So sometimes people will put like one room number. That doesn't give us a scope of what you're requesting. There's a lot of submaster keys, and we'll need to kind of narrow it down to what you need. So we tend to send those back as well. Ordering individual keys, that's going to be done through the Fix-It system. That's when you log into your Access UH. You're going to go into the key request tab and just go through the prompts that are on there. I laid out the process on here just so that everybody is kind of aware that sometimes people will call and say, hey, this isn't moving along, what's going on? So I think kind of knowing the whole process will answer that question for you. So whenever we receive a key request, it actually will it gets to us, but it also gets routed to a space approver for the department. So once that space approver approves that request or denies it, but let's say they approve it, it then will get pushed to a certifying signatory for the department who also has to approve it. So it kind of sits on those two people's plate, and then from there, we're able to move it along to the lock shop. So there's a time, if you're ever wondering why your key request is taking so long, it could be sitting on one of those people's desk, and we need to reach out to them to kind of get it moving along. They do get email notified when this happens, so hopefully they kind of address those quickly for you guys. Per university policy, duplicate keys are not allowed of any kind. So if you've got a key for a room and you say, hey, it'd be helpful if I had 2 keys for this room in case I'm not here, I can pass it along. We do not allow duplicate keys, and keys can't even be transferred over to another individual. Really important to note, we're also, throughout COVID, we disabled what we called 30-day recycling. What that means is whenever you would submit a key request, our office receives it, we would hold on to it for, through COVID, a year, essentially. And as you can imagine, keys can kind of add up and multiply and all that good stuff. So we have turned on 30-day recycling again. What that means is that we'll now hold on to your key order for 30 days. You will get notified 5 days before that 30-day time period's up, telling you, hey, you've got 5 days to come get your key, otherwise it'll be recycled. You're obviously welcome to resubmit that request. But we did turn that back on. We did not have that throughout COVID, so we just want to give everybody a fair warning that, keys will be recycled after 30 days. Also important to know, we get a lot of questions about, hey, I need a key for my desk or my cabinet or whatever it may be. Whenever you go into the individual key request, over to the side of it, I'm sorry I don't have a visual here, but there's going to be actually separate forms. It'll say alternate keys or something along those lines, and that's where you would put in that request through there. So like I have here, padlock, cabinet, desk, kind of those oddball. Our office really primarily deals with like your hard key for a door. We don't do anything, we kind of touched on earlier how the Cougar Card office doesn't do any authorization access for people. Neither does Key Access Services. We can direct you to the right people, but that's about as far as we can take it, unfortunately. So we started with ordering keys. The next thing in that process, as we all know, is probably picking up the key, right? Pretty basic. It does need to be the key holder. You can't say, hey, can my coworker go get the key? It needs to be the individual. I think it's pretty clear on why that's the reason. We do need a Cougar Card or a valid ID. We do not accept a digital Cougar Card. We do like to have the physical. Why not? Good question. Yeah.
Because the only person that can get that card has to log in with their UH Access ID.
Sure. It's something maybe we can look at.
CASA takes it for the testing center.
Sure.
So I'm just thinking that could be a change that would be helpful.
Absolutely. I appreciate your insight. We'll definitely look at that. I agree with it.
I just had to log in with my access because I hadn't logged in with
Yeah.
it. So you can't have UH go out unless you have your access
Sure.
to UH on there.
it seems pretty secure to me, and I think we've unfortunately had to turn some people away, and you don't want to do that when they have it on their phone, you know. So we'll look at that. I love it. I mentioned, you know, okay, you can't have your peer or whoever it may be go get your key. I will note that we do have a form that does kind of allow that. It's your key pickup authorization form. That form does need to be signed by the certifying signatory for the department, which I would say about 60% of them are not when we receive them. So it is important to note that, because we'll get them with just like the person picking up the key and the person that's allowing that to happen. We do need that third signature. That's kind of like the check and balance of the whole process. That form is located on our website, and I did link our website, or did I? If you go into uh.edu and type Key Access Services in the search bar, you'll find us. I think I went too far. What did I do here? I pushed the wrong arrow and took me into Wonderland. There we go. There we go. So yeah, and so moving on, cost, $10 a key. We only accept credit cards and cost center, obviously. We don't accept cash or Shasta bucks or something. We get that, you know, so we don't, unfortunately. Yeah, so non-working keys, obvious, you know, reality of locks and keys. If y'all ever have an issue with keys, you would contact our office, and we do work with the lock shop on getting those fixed for you guys. And lastly, the fun part, returning keys. All keys that are checked out from our office need to be returned to our office. That includes, let's say you have a lock change in your building. You say, well, this key is a dud now. It is still important that you bring that key back to us. It does sit on your key record, and when you leave the university, you obviously have all that fun and games to deal with at the end of that. So that pretty much highlights everything I was going to speak on. Oh, also very important. We do ask that the individual that received the key return the key. We know that a lot of departments like to collect keys and say, oh, well, the semester's ending. Let me go ahead and drop a bucket of keys off at Key Access Services. That doesn't do any good for anybody. I don't think that's good for university security and safety in terms of key tracking, knowing who has what key. If a department does decide to return keys for an individual, separate it by their name and their PeopleSoft number so that we can have an accurate key tracking. Whenever we have them bundled together, one, there's just two of us in our office. We can't sit there and look up keys for hours on end. And two, it's just not conducive to the safety and security of the campus. So we ask that either the individual bring them back, or if a department insists on it, which we understand they like to have their processes, that just segregate. But other than that, I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has for me, except for Jessica. Because I know Jessica's got something brewing back there. No, I'm joking. I'll give you a hard time. Nobody? I get off easy too. Well, my birthday's next week, so I guess I got off easy too. Yes, sir. Hey, thank you, Robert. Kind words. I'll take those. No negative comments. No, I'm kidding. I'll take the negative too. I can handle those. Nobody? All right. Well, thank you for your time, everybody.
Cannon's like twice as tall as me. Sorry. And I wore my heels today. All right, we did already the door prize. If we have time, we'll do another one at the end. All right, building coordinator training. So during our February building coordinator meeting, we mentioned several initiatives that we were going to be taking. One of them was revitalizing the training, among many others. So our goal is to present the training each year, hopefully in a face-to-face setting, and then throughout the year, maybe in a team setting, to any building coordinators that come on board, so that we can all be familiar with the responsibility and resources available to us. So I'm going to be going over this information today. All right, so who has been part of the program since 2011? I want to know who I need to. I might have you come up here and do this, give this training with me. And a lot of y'all maybe might have had been wearing this hat before then, but again, the program was codified back in 2011. We have about 160 buildings, including the Sugarland and Katy buildings, and about 130, a little bit over 130 building coordinators. And so you see that we have 160 something buildings, and we don't have double the amount of building coordinators, but that's because some of you all are building coordinators to multiple buildings. So like Mike Mahaney has a lot of buildings, Jessica Wheeler's also, she has multiple buildings. So just to kind of give you an idea of how many buildings and how many building coordinators we have in all. We do have a building coordinator program map that was officiated in December 2016, and it's currently under review. And so if there are any updates to the map, we will communicate that. All right, so the purpose of the program was to bridge partnerships between the UH community and facilities construction management. The university is committed to ensuring a safe and effective physical environment, to support the students, faculty, and staff, and also our visitors that we have on campus. So that's why this program was established and designed to facilitate communication, support facility capital planning, and represent user needs. So like, for example, the law building or the Roy Cullen renovation that's going on, we all contribute to that. For example, when we have to shut down the electrical to 14 buildings because we have to switch, Roy Cullen and AD Bruce from one feeder to the next, we all, our buildings, all other buildings get affected. So we all work together, and we are contributing to the growth of the university. All right, so definitions. Building coordinators, you are our primary contacts in each building to help facilitate these communications and, again, coordinate these outages. Building user and occupant, this is all faculty, staff, and students and visitors who are in your building, not just the department that you work with. For example, I'm building coordinator of the General Services building, and in our building we have copy, because they just changed copy, printing, and delivery services. There's a copy, print, and delivery services, and UIT. So if there is an outage going on in General Services building, I have my point of contact in Postal, I have my point of contact in UIT, and also business services. We also have business services too at the General Services building. So I'll reach out to them and like, hey, by the way, this is going on. Are there any issues? I need to know, maybe they have an event going on that day, and maybe we can reschedule. So I have to inform all our occupants. Department access user, Chad and Magda touched on that, so they're responsible for the management of the electronic access of building perimeter doors, and so again, they're a big support to ensuring the safety of the campus. So the designation, again, each building, it's unique to each building. Like I mentioned, some of you are building coordinators to multiple buildings. The primary and alternate BC will receive recertification letters every year. And we don't hold elections for building coordinators, and it's not a 4-year term like a presidential, so you're kind of a building coordinator. It's a voluntary role, so it's up until either you leave the university or say, hey, I need to pass the baton to someone else because I'm going to be moving on to another position or whatever the case may be. So the responsibilities, and we'll be going over these today, is to stay informed, be the point of contact, distribute notifications, build partnerships, and prepare and respond to emergencies. All right, stay informed. So the main one, facilities communication emails. Like Magda mentioned in the beginning, not only do we send the outage notifications, but we also send, updates. We're going to be sending, I'm going to be distributing for the DAU designation, that form again. So just be on the lookout for those emails. All of y'all should be receiving emails from Facilities Communications. If you are not, please email FATCOM, and I will get you on our listserv. attend BC meetings like today where we're sharing updates and information. They'll be held quarterly or ad hoc basis depending on, we need to share information sooner, and that can't really be on an email. So we'll be doing those either face-to-face or Teams. And COVID. We just, if you have a question, COVID, you can email me, but I'm going to direct y'all to the COVID website. That is the most up-to-date information regarding COVID. So just, all this is, and this presentation will be on the website, so you'll be able to access the hyperlinks if you don't already have these links on your favorites. So, and be familiar with right now the thing with COVID is that as a building coordinator, we need to be familiar with the cleaning and disinfection protocol. So the building coordinators will be notified if a positive case, I had to write this down, is reported through the UH COVID-19 website and the individual has been on campus within 3 days. I checked it last night. I don't think it's changed since then. So the cleaning protocol will be activated. When you get that email, notify the occupants of the impacted space, clear the impacted space of any occupants if necessary, if they haven't already, vacated the space. Notify the department heads of departments occupying your building in case they might have someone that, goes to that space or for whatever reason, just, notify the department heads within your building. And once the space is cleaned and everything, please notify the occupants that they can go back. And again, any questions or concerns can be emailed to FACCOM. I may not know all the answers to your questions, but I'd be happy to help you find out more information or see who can help us. All right, so be the point of contact. Please review the information on the building coordinator website as far as the list. If we need to update any names, phone numbers, or emails, please let me know. If you win the lottery, please send me an email, please, and update me. Or, if you leave the university, just send a quick email. Hey, Erica, I'm not gonna be here anymore. I won the lottery, or whatever the case may be. I'm no longer gonna be the building coordinator, for that building. So then and if you know who's gonna be taking your spot, please let me know, and that way I can introduce myself, get them with the onboarding training and so forth. And if not, that's fine. If you don't know who's gonna be taking on that role, I'll reach out to the alternate building coordinator and kind of start working with them. Hey, who's gonna be our other point of contact there? So again, it's very important that you coordinate with the other building coordinator in your building. Do all of y'all know who the other one is? Good. All right, so have a point of, so each building coordinator should have a point of contact for each department in their building. The example I mentioned, GSB has postal, has UIT, has business services, so I have a point of contact for each of those departments. So that way, when I get these notifications, I send it out to the department heads, and then they, facilitate on down to the staff. Serve as department access user, so a lot of you already have that role. If you do not, designate that to someone and let EAC know. And the notification process, as you've been seeing, I send you the email once I get a outage request, and I ask that you review and confirm that we may proceed with the outage, so that way I can distribute the official notice. So again, on the distribution of the notifications, so like Magda also mentioned in the beginning, she stole a lot of my thunder. FCM has codified the internal process, and the goal is that so we communicate these outages as timely as possible. And so we colored the forms. So planned means that we distributed the notification 2 weeks or more from the start date. So our goal is to try to let you know ahead of time of when something's gonna impact you and your building. Immediate, it was distributed less than 2 weeks in advance from the start date. And emergency, it's already broken. We're repairing it already. Nothing we can do about it, sorry. So that's where Magda was mentioning, like now they're color coded, so if you see a green form, you're kind of like, oh, it's happening, within 2 weeks, I'm good, yellow. it's less than 2 weeks, an emergency, oh, it's going on right now or within 24 hours. So when I send it over to you all for review and approval, the internal FCM processes, they need to get it to me at least 3 weeks before the start date. So I have time to send it to you all, so y'all can review it, check with your departments, hey, is this date good, so-and-so, and that way you can get an answer back to me, so then I can then proceed with getting the fire marshal's approval, facility services director, make sure that everything's good on their end, and then I distribute the official approved outage notification. So again, notify all building users by at least distributing it to the department heads of your departments, and they can then facilitate it to their staff. We do update the outage. We do have an outage notification calendar. Who's familiar with that website? Mike Wheeler and I meet on that. We go over those outages every Wednesday. Every Wednesday. So if you're like, hey, the water's out, do we have an outage for it? Was it scheduled? If it was scheduled, whether it's planned, immediate, emergency, sometimes I don't get to the calendar on time because it already happened. But, you can always refer back to the outage calendar website and see, oh, okay, yeah, this was planned. The form is also attached to it, so you can see, oh, she sent it on this date. So that information is also there as well. Contact Fix-It if any systems are not working properly after an outage. So, who knows the 4 ways to fix it? I'm like, just a hint. The form's on the thing. I always forget the fourth one. I always forget the online one. But yeah, call, text, email, or the online. So yeah, if there's any issues after an outage, just contact Fix-It. Our technicians do go check afterwards to make sure that the building is in good order, but, again, if you notice something, please report it to Fix-It. What I try to do, if we send out an outage notification for something, 3 weeks out, again, we want to try to communicate as timely as possible, and so we'll send it, sometimes we'll send it 3 weeks out. And a good tip, if it's affecting your building, is maybe send a reminder to, again, the department heads. It's like, by the way, this week we're going to have this going on, and that way, again, they can also remind their staff.
Have you ever thought about doing it as a calendar request rather than just an email? A non-busy calendar request, just so people don't have an excuse. Like, you accept that it's on your calendar and then it's there.
Yeah, no, we are exploring better ways to communicate and get the approvals, and as also how we display them in the outage calendar for warning. When you get to the website, it is a little bit confusing, so we're exploring other ways to, also enter these in the website. Part of the revitalizing the website, which I thought it was going to be easier until I had to take the CMS course.
So if it sits out as a building as a calendar invite, then as a building coordinator, you can get every outage notice.
Well, we already received the emails. So like,
You want on your calendar as well?
well, it's a non-busy, sure, why not? Like, if it's not blocking my calendar and it's just, when you click the top of the day and you just put it.
So maybe once it's all approved, because sometimes we'll send it out, but CPH has an event that day, so then we have to go back to the project manager, hey, they have an event, so when can we reschedule this and so forth. But maybe once it's all finalized, a way so that way it's on your calendar.
I'm just trying to help with excuses if people say they don't know, right?
Right. No.
That calendar that's right there.
Absolutely. All right, so we're halfway through, and let me stretch. Do you receive the emails from FATCOM? Like I said, if you don't, send me an email, or if there is someone else, maybe they're not a building coordinator, but they help you delegate some of this information, just send me an email, and we have a listserv for outage notifications, and we can add them to that listserv. Do you have 24/7 access to your emails? Again, as a building coordinator, we should have access 24/7 to the emails, and in case there's an emergency, we have a way to reach you. We are going to also be asking, for your cell phone numbers, and that way we can also text if it's something in emergency. I'm not going to text you if I need an approval of something. That can wait. But again, hey, we were notified of a fire here, or a flood or something, we can also text you as well. And are you distributing notification communications to all building users? So I know it's hard to keep track of who all is in your building, but at least have the department head's point of contact so that way you can distribute information to. And have you reviewed the DAUs assigned to your buildings in the last 6 months? Chad and Magda touched on that. All right, so build partnerships. So these are some of our resources that are available to us. And as building coordinators, we serve as a primary communication between them and our building occupants. So we're going to be going over some of this. The first one is FCM, and this is the organization chart of the department. So we have facilities planning and construction, and it's kind of divided into the planning side and the project side. So the planning side is led by Krista Rick, and so their department or their unit is responsible for the project planning, which is the entry point of all projects. This team is responsible for working with the university clients to develop project scope. So if we've ever done a project in your building, this is where it first went to. The architect manages the master plan along with the master specs and guidelines. The engineering services team supports the campus existing infrastructure and the future development. The interior design group provides support in developing our interior finish and all space standards and manages the furniture selections and procurement for all capital projects. And the space management team, they're responsible for managing the space database and state reporting for roughly 16 million square feet on the University of Houston campus. So another important thing is if you know of a space that was occupied by biology, and then now it's going to be occupied by the chemistry department, please notify space management so that way they can change the department ID on that space, so that way whenever key requests are submitted for that space, that it gets routed to the right space approver and so forth. And then the project management for FPC is managed by Nick Mary, and they manage projects over $1 million from program validation to final completion. And again, validating project programs with the university clients in regards to budget available and project scope. They also select and manage the architects and engineer firms. And this is a UH system department, so they manage projects from all our 4 components: downtown, Clear Lake, including the Pearland site, Victoria, including Katy site, Sugarland, and Katy. All right, facility services, so they have the largest group. They have campus construction services. They're the project management team that handle construction services projects under $1 million. And then campus services, they're also, the largest group, and we like to consider them the first impression of the university for our visitors, staff, faculty, and students. That's custodial, landscape, solid waste, recycling team. Did I miss any, Liliana? Fleet. Here we go. The largest group. The largest group. Then we have maintenance and repair group. They do the repair and maintenance on all university buildings, and plan operations, which provides a safe and reliable utility infrastructure to support campus and all buildings. All right, the next one, I'm just going to say FBOC. So they're responsible for the facilities technology, and they maintain and support our facilities, our iPads, that our technicians use, our computers, mobile devices, and so forth. Electronic access control, I won't elaborate on that, we already did. Then we have our contracts and M&O, and they assist FCM staff with the preparation of operational and construction contracts. And the customer service, which is the call center, Fix-It, Key Access Services, and the building coordinator program. And as we met this morning, our new assistant director, Dwight, he'll be joining us October 18th. All right, so campus safety. So back in May at our team's building coordinator meeting, we had representatives from environmental health and safety. It was, we had O2 Union that presented that day. We had Fire Marshal Chris McDonald from Fire and Life Safety. We also had Ginger Walker also present on the Office of Emergency Management. So these are our contacts for these components. So environmental health and safety, so they provide the technical expertise, consulting assistance, safety training and services to ensure compliance with institutional and regulatory requirements. And again, all this, the information of these support agencies that was provided to us from a subject matter expert from each area. Again, this information is going to be shared. They also were in our meeting in May, so you can also refer back to that information there as well. But some of the things that, and I wrote them down here, some of the EHS top findings in the buildings were unoccupied research and instruction labs, hazardous material delivery to non-lab spaces, lab waste in non-designated areas, overfilled sharps containers in public restrooms are one of their top findings in our buildings. And the help that they ask from us, the building coordinators, is that we report any concerns relative to the health and safety of building occupants and spaces, and notify EHS when new faculty are assigned to a laboratory space or when faculty are vacating a laboratory space to ensure that hazards and waste materials are properly addressed. Also, to refuse any hazardous material deliveries if it's being delivered to a non-lab space, redirect them to the laboratory. And you can contact EHS for advice on safe delivery and receipt of hazardous materials. Is anybody keeping track of my time? I'm gonna watch. All right. Fire and life safety. So pretty self-explanatory. They try to prevent fire and make sure that we are safe in the university. Some of their responsibilities is that they ensure food and safety standards are adhered, identify and remove any frayed electrical cords, trip hazards. They check on fire safety equipment. They also assist architects and engineers to ensure that safety measures are in place whenever there's a construction going on. And they also provide trainings, fire extinguishers and food safety. I know I took their fire extinguisher training. Did anybody do that? Where they're out on the parking lot and they have you put out an actual fire? So that was pretty neat. So that's also good to take as a building coordinator, to sign up to for those trainings. So you can contact our Fire Marshal, Chris McDonald, and Wendell McLeod for that. All right, OEM, and we have a representative from OEM, Brian Hall, raised your hand. So if any questions on this information, you can contact him. So they're responsible for the emergency planning. They help us with our campus-wide and building department level emergency planning, continuity planning, the campus emergency preparedness programs. They do drills and exercise, disaster preparedness outreach, and a long list. I'm sure even more than what's on here. Again, they also offer a variety of trainings. I went on their website and kind of got more information on these. The Building Department Emergency Preparedness Training is designed to meet the department or building needs to establish protocols for emergency preparedness and response. The CERT training, which I filled out the form to sign up, and once they have all that ready, they're going to notify when the next training is going to be. So this is offered to students, faculty, and staff. They can sign up. Is it still going to be an 8-week training course? 8-week training, week training program that prepares you to help yourself, or family, and your neighbors in the event of a disaster. So to sign up, it's on the website, right? And the hurricane preparedness presentation, again, it's for students, faculty, and staff to learn personal hurricane tips. And so we'll try to have OEM come around May before hurricane season, again, to just give us a refresher. It helps us for the campus, and also me personally, what to do, how to prepare for my home. My home flooded during Harvey, so I did not have flood insurance. So that was interesting, but have them around May before hurricane season starts, so again, to serve as a refresher on how we can, help prepare for the hurricane. Hopefully we don't have. So what OEM asks of us is that we have a building emergency response plan, and they have a template on their website, and it's a guideline in order to help departments develop this emergency response plan. So by having this plan is a way that we can be prepared in the event of, a fire, a hurricane, an active shooter situation, just having that, and also just making it part of our annual routine of going over it, reviewing it, updating it, meeting with our department heads of the departments, and make sure that we're all on the same page of, okay, in case of an emergency, these types of emergencies, these are the steps that we need to take. And again, we can reach out to Brian Hall if we have any questions on the template. I reached out to him last week, and I'm like, hey, I'm the new building coordinator for the GSB. Have we ever submitted a draft of our emergency response plan? And he's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. So I'm gonna get a group of people in my building to help me create our plan, and then send it off to Brian Hall so he can review the draft and just kind of guide me through the process. Risk management. So they manage, they're a resource for risk identification, loss prevention, workers' comp, general liability, automobile liability. We will reach out to the building coordinators twice a year on behalf of risk management. We will have the State Office of Risk Management come in and do inspections. They'll pick random buildings. They'll select 5 to 10 buildings. And then we also have our insurance carrier come in and do inspections. SORM was here in May. GSB was one of the buildings that they had randomly selected to go and inspect. So as a building coordinator, I accompanied them through the tour. I think it was like 30, 45 minutes. And it was a good way for me to see all the areas and see all the issues that we have, the main one being our roof, which is being replaced right now, thankfully. And then the insurance company, they're coming in actually October 12th. They're gonna be inspecting 5 buildings, Health One, Stadium Parking Garage, Hilton, Agrol, and I can't remember the 5th one. But I've already reached out to you to see who is the point of contact that's going to be accompanying them during this walkthrough. So it's gonna be risk management, a representative from the insurance carrier, a representative from facility services, because they'll need to go and inspect some of our mechanical rooms, and a building coordinator, or if you delegate that to someone else in your building in case you can't. Yes, ma'am.
Anything like this for major programs that are off campus and lease space?
That lease space, so for example,
Like, for example, we have a major program that's in the Galleria area, and much of this doesn't apply to us, but this particular issue does. So is this something that's available to us as well?
I'll have to follow up. So I'm new to the program, but yes, I'll get back with you, and then we can get more information on that. Like, I know, are you talking about the small business development buildings? Okay, yes, so I'll get more information on that. We have our technology bridge buildings out of the Gulf Freeway, and so they're maintained by Transwestern, and so we work closely with them as well. So I'll have to get more information on those buildings. Okay, and UHPD, this number along with the fix-it number are the numbers we should have memorized. And so with them, the help they need from us is the campus carry signs and to submit our campus carry inspection forms every Friday to the campuscarry@uh.edu website. They ask if we, building coordinators, see any safety concerns as far as, security, or if any building occupants have gone to you on some concerns, please relay those back to them. They do have assigned officers that can meet with the building coordinators and discuss those issues.
I saw some signs while driving around campus about the new Texas campus
Open.
but not on our campus or something. Like, it was very confusing because it was a university sign. But is there any chance that you have any information on what that means for us?
No, but I will. I will reach out to my point of contact there and get more information on that, yeah. Because that was like it came effective in September.
For people to know too, as building coordinators, which buildings are campus carry exclusion buildings and which aren't, like code performance hall, we are not protected. So,
Right.
People can carry in the building and,
Yeah, they have that exclusion zone list, which is hyperlinked, but, yes, I'll follow up with them and see, make sure that it's updated and so forth. For sure. Right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so the partnership takeaways, Linnell training for DAUs. Chad, this was, the information in the past that I had, but so they still submit a work order if they need the training, or do they just reach out directly to EAC? Okay, so you have both ways. If you need the Linnell training, or delegating this to, someone else to be the DAU, to get the training, you can submit a work order through Fixit or email eac@uh.edu. So be familiar with the labs in your buildings to make sure you let EHS know whenever it's vacant or when a new faculty is going to be occupying the space. Review and share your building emergency response plan, or in my case, start one. Campus carry sign inspections form due first Friday of every month, and engage in safety trainings. So again, to be prepared and respond to emergencies, the hyperlink where it says be prepared, it kind of gives you ways of how to be prepared for a hurricane, a fire, a flood, a winter. So if you click on it, it has different icons, and then it'll kind of give you tips on how to best prepare. But tips that they've shared with us, OEM has shared with us, is practice our evacuation drills, have our emergency response plan in place, the continuity plan in place, and again, review it. And make sure we have good points of contacts in our building, and that everyone is getting those UH alert notifications. And Brian, since we have you here, anything you want to add to that? Since
No, you did a good job. The only thing to add is the building emergency response plans, it's not mandatory. We don't have any guidelines for that. We just recommend doing it, and I would say maybe 10 buildings have actually submitted them to us.
out of 160 something?
We're here to help.
Yes.
It's a very easy process. The template is very easy to follow. We get it reviewed by fire marshal and PD as well. So if you need it, if you want it, please do it. We keep it on file, and then we're able to help you review it every year too. So that's the biggest thing is recommending, please do the building emergency response plan.
Where you're being nice, I was making it like, no, we have to do this. As a building coordinator, we have to have one in place. But it's good to, again, have a plan to be prepared. Yes? Coop.
So, yeah, so COOP is required. COOP is really meant to have a plan for if something goes wrong, what are you going to do? How do you maintain your system functions? The building emergency response plan is really how are you going to respond to emergency? So fire, tornado, active shooter, what does your call tree look like? So they are related, but the COOP is really for, if COVID was COOP, almost everybody, their COOP plan was actually activated for COVID. They don't really realize that, so when you're reviewing it, this is something to think about. How did y'all continue your functions when you couldn't be in your space or have access to your building? That's what it's really about.
Thank you, Brian. All right, so again, just to recap, just stay informed, be the point of contact, distribute the notifications, and any information that we share that's, relevant to the building users. Build partnerships and prepare in response to emergencies. And just, kind of recapping the typical tasks on a day-to-day is mainly you're gonna be reviewing and we're gonna be communicating these outage notifications, report facility-related issues to Fixit. On a month-to-month, it's the campus carry. Review the outage calendar so you know what may be coming up in your building or to remind you what may be coming up in your building as far as outages, meetings, and then the year to year, we're gonna have this presentation once a year. Hopefully, we can eliminate COVID stuff at some point. We're gonna be sending the recertification letters every year, and again, review the point of contacts for DAUs, and review the building emergency response plan. And helpful tips is communicate with the zone managers, and we'll be communicating that information as to how they're going to be delegated to what areas. Communicate information to all building users, and like Magda said, is provide regular feedback, whether it be through the work order surveys. And now sometimes you as a building coordinator, you're not the one submitting the work order, so you won't get the survey. So on our UH.edu facility services website, there is, and if you go to the Fix-It link on the website, we do have a customer and comments form that you can submit. So any feedback, good or bad, please submit it. We do review it, and we'll see what areas we need to improve. And be familiar with building entrances and access control. Again, we're stressing the whole DAU because that's a big part of our security here in the university. So, and I'm glad we were able to touch on that today. In case you missed it, so the only signage that we should be having on elevators and doors is the mask encourage, COVID discourage signage. So if there's any of the occupancy limit on the elevators, we need to remove those. I know Facility Services has been trying and catching those, but if you see any of them, please remove them. Also, September 1st, the Houston City Council approved the name section of Calhoun Road to Martin Luther King Boulevard. I don't know if y'all follow the UH Facebook website, but they had an announcement on there. And so Facilities Planning and Copy, Print, and Delivery Services are working with the U.S. Post Office on the process for the new address. So that might be going into effect sometime in December. So they'll keep me posted. So those buildings along Calhoun Road, which will now be Martin Luther King Boulevard, will be impacted, so I'll be communicating that information.
Wait, is that the section where like the Welcome Center and Bauer and the Loft are?
I know they put a map here, I don't have that in front of me. Oh,
That's gonna change a lot of printed material, because we're at the corner of University and Calhoun.
yeah, so it is a lot of, Yeah, it's a big task, and so that's why, because it involves the planning, the address is postal because it involves the address change, so yeah, you're meeting with them, and yeah. So even though, it's already been approved, but for it to take into effect, it's gonna take a while.
I indeed missed it, so thank you.
You're welcome. Yay, at least someone heard something new. So a lot of this information today, was probably a refresher to most because y'all been part of the building coordinator program. This was new to me because I just joined the program in November. So I kind of took what was already in place and just kind of, revamped it and condensed it a little bit and, to be able to present to y'all today. But again, this information will also be available to building coordinators as they come on board. So I will reach out to them and schedule a time to go over this in a Teams meeting setting.
Erica, I have a work order question. I have been holding it for a while. So when a work order, and it mainly maybe is when you call it in versus when you put it in. But so if it's a weekend or an evening, which a number of us function on weekends and evenings, it doesn't get put into the system or assigned until the next business day. And then it comes to us saying it's been assigned, and then I don't want the work to happen
I will let the subject matter expert answer that.
I am here.
You're on the path.
On behalf of the call center of my area and also Mr. Benjamin's area. But we have some directors here that are part of the members of the facility services, also can help address some of these questions or after the meeting as well. And if environmental health safety can stay back as well to answer any questions that anybody else might need, I really would appreciate that. Of course, zone managers and everybody else will be here to answer any more questions, but back to your point in regards to the service requests and work orders. A service request, just because it becomes assigned, you're not going to get charged unless the work is done.
But the work's already been done, is what I'm saying. So we had to ask special permission to get our work done without our DBA. Because in the beginning, facilities was waiting on all of our work orders for our DBA to approve. Well, if we have an outage while we're in the middle of an event on a Saturday,
That won't happen.
guarantee you my DBA has no clue what.
Absolutely. So as Jeff mentioned, we have priorities that he brought to the organization maybe a couple of years ago, pre-me. So we work alongside FS in regards to the priorities. But if there's a priority one, like an outage or anything, and Mr. Mike Wheeler's here as well, he can attest to that, that people get dispatched immediately and then they come out. And if it's during regular business hours, we got staff on campus. And if it's after hours and on weekends, it takes, I think, whatever time it takes them from getting home to campus to address it. So it does not get undone. We're not going to wait for a DBA to say, oh, there's flooding in the building, let's wait for the DBA to answer this and tell us if it's going to be approved on Monday. That won't happen. That is not the case. That's why we have dispatching and we have priorities that we treat differently. And as Mr. Benjamin said, we just have a guide of anything that could be detrimental that it's obvious. If it's flooding, of course you want to attend to it immediately because it could affect your carpet, your sheetrock, whatever it may be. And so we dispatch those immediately, just like a big power outage of a building. It'll start harming the assets of the university under Mike Wheeler's area. So we dispatch those immediately. Elevator entrapments, we don't wait for a DBA, or a DBA or certifying signature to approve it, while we have somebody entrapped in an elevator. No, we immediately dispatch those as soon as we get wind of it. Police tends to them, and so does the elevator technician immediately. So anything that's a priority one does not wait for a DBA. Does one get missed? Probably. Is there a risk of them probably missing? Yes. The other thing is that we're also working on a very dated system. That is another initiative we're working on, is that we're replacing our work order management system that has been dated, and we're trying to keep alive that Mr. Chad's team maintains and trying to keep alive until we get a new system. And they're working on the new system that should be a little bit more simpler to use and everything else, and friendlier to use for the customers and for the actual users, which are the technicians. But back to your point in regards to an emergency, it gets immediately dispatched. Does a work order service request comes in and sometimes it doesn't get processed, as quickly or whatever it might need. If it's a priority two, most likely it'll get addressed within 24 hours.
So that's not my question.
Okay.
Asking an emergency is not my question. My question is, it gets assigned after the work is completed.
Can you give an example like?
Yeah, because, Carrie, let me just tell you the process of a work order, and then I can understand your question. A call comes in, and a service request is generated. Depending on what it is, right? If it's not regular infrastructure, the light, the electricity, the water, stuff like that, in general services buildings, right? We process those, does not go to the DBA. It goes to the DBA or certifying signature if it's above and beyond that. Sometimes the system will automatically tag it and send it to the DBA. We're trying to catch those and take them off of that queue, right? So once it goes through that step, and either if it goes to the DBA or it doesn't, it gets assigned to a shop. It gets assigned to a shop, and it will not close until the technician completes their work order, adds their labor and materials, whatever needs to go in the system, and then you'll get a response back saying it's closed. So,
Again, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, so an SR's put in, great, but it does not happen after hours around the weekends. On that Monday, we get an email that says, your SR's been put in, and then maybe 2 days later, we get an email that says your work order's been created, and it's been assigned to a shop. So when that happens, our work has already been done.
By a
No, no, it won't happen again. Oh. Okay. And so if that's the case, also with the shops as well, so a dispatch center's not gonna know that the work was already done or not. Because sometimes people are called and the work gets done, and then the papering up is coming back to catch up. That happened. And it does happen. Because guess what? I'm not gonna tell a technician, hey, don't do nothing, let's worry about the paperwork first, and don't tend to that emergency or whatever it may be, or that immediate need, right? And they're gonna tend to it. So on some cases, I agree. It does happen that they will do the work, we gotta address it immediately, and then the work order or service request procedure and process happens afterwards. If you've been charged again, please bring it to our attention, but I know Mr. Benjamin and them are also working on that, as well as if they see repeats, because sometimes you got repeats, like say, you're a building, you submit one, and I'm just a visitor, right? And I see something, so I'm gonna report it, I'm gonna click that little icon, I wanna have a say-so. So I put it in, I have no business putting it in. I think that you change their knobs from silver to gold, right? You don't want that. You don't want somebody like me to come and make a decision just because I don't like your knobs. And that's gonna charge you, so therefore it goes through that process. But if you have submitted your request and I'm submitting your request, and they walk by and they submit a request, then you can see the multiplication. On occasion, other technicians sometimes do look at it, the supervisors do look at it and find it and catch it, or we might catch it in the front end. When I say we might see a duplication. We're like, oh, we just saw this. Duplication, close it out. On occasion, I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen. You're stating, the fact that it does happen. Are we trying to improve that? Absolutely. Ms. Liliana?
Thank you. So you call it in on a Saturday in the middle of the event. The call gets dispatched out to the technician and call. They come, they take care of your request, work is done, everybody's safe and happy. The work orders may stay as a service request until it gets converted to a work order. And 99.9% of the time, the supervisor comes in Monday morning and assigns the work order. That doesn't mean the technician should show up again at the location. What should happen at the time the on-call technician gets called out to come assist with the request, notes should be put on the service request that we call the call-out technician. So when the service request gets converted into a work order, the notes are already there, the supervisors see it, and just assigns, bill if it needs to be billed, and close it as completed if it was completed. So the technician should not show up again, and you only should see one charge on it. It happens for two reasons. One, the way the system is right now will create a work order with the date the service request was submitted, not with the date the DBA approved it to be converted from a service order to a work order. And so we get the work order. I see that every day. Katie sees them every day. We deal with it every day. That you may have requested 2 weeks ago. It's not an emergency. It's just a regular service request. 2 weeks later, your DBA approves it. That's when we get the work order. The work order will have the date you requested it. So that's why it shows like, oh my God, it took them 2 weeks to answer. No, it didn't. If you look at the time that it was approved. So that's one aspect. The other one is the processing that we get them in facilities. So by no means you should get charged twice, ever. And if you get the technician showing up twice, that's good, because that means they validated the work was done right. Because you cannot always trust the first time.
Stay right here. Thank you, Liliana. Just back to Liliana's point.
I wasn't on the
No, that's okay.
roster.
And back to Liliana's point, if you do get charged for something that's it's already been done, please contact me, any of the zone managers, and we'll work on that on the financial side with you. But please let us know. We're not going to know if it doesn't get brought to our attention. I think they have another question for you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Bev.
Well, no, I have no problem voicing if we get charged twice.
could work on that.
the electrical shop, because I have two technicians showing up to do one job, and they both tell me, well, I have to charge you because I came out. No, you don't, because I didn't put it in that way.
Right,
Right.
that
That's
would
me.
happen. At least you get custodian to answer to your.
And Chad could come and talk about our dated system. So with our change and adaptation of revolutionizing customer service and trying to perfect the process and finding out what's working, what is not working, and perfecting it, the system itself is dying, right? It's outdated. And I learned, and this almost made me walk out the door, right, was that in addition to, if we assign something wrong, let me know, we'll correct it. The other thing is that, and Chad is the IT director of FCM and Over Famous, the system that y'all submit all these stuff into, the system is going haywire. We got some requests were coming in, that service requests, the request changed, or the shop changed, or the contact changed. And it was what the system was doing was grabbing the service request and the work order this a couple of weeks ago and intertwining the data between the two. So if I submitted something, he submitted something, our stuff was together and it either turned into service request and killed the work order, or or it turned into a work order. Our individual, and I'm very transparent, and we can show you this as well, is that our developer that we have in-house that has been keeping the system alive has worked on it, did some coding on it, and some development in it to try to reduce that issue. But yes, I agree with you, it has happened. Is it a human error? Yes. Is it a system error? Yes, but I can't tell you which one's which, but I could tell you if it's a human error, we're trying to perfect it. System-wise, which we could do as much as we can until Mr. Chad implements the new system, which he's working very diligently on, and we should have something up and running that it could be a little bit more safeguarded for us. But yes, and if you have any of those issues, please bring them to my attention and we'll address them. The technicians are going to do what they do, and they know that they need to account for their existence. So that's their lingo, and I'm okay with that. And just address your questions, billing questions to us.
So you pointed out though that it's an outdated system and improvement of customer service. I'm just curious as to what was wrong with the old customer service?
Well, anything that you do, we always go through, do we move with the times, just like the locks, EAC. Some people, they're working, right? But nobody knows behind the scenes what's going on with the lock, or do we need an improvement? Does every process, can we do it better? Can we do it greater? How do we touch that customer? I was told that these are some of the comments we received. A lot of initiatives were developed and thought of before I got here. I was part of the transition. But a lot of the stuff, some of the people told me from other departments that there's a service request and it goes into a black hole. Well, I didn't know that they had that perception of us, and I'm like, wow. And so those kind of things happen. And also before, we had a call center that stayed within in an area. And as I mentioned earlier, the roles are totally different to make sure that they're attending to your needs, making sure that that service request or that work order gets the proper technician, forget, the anomalies, that we get the right technician out to you, that you don't get 2 or 3 to say, no, that's not the right thing. Nope, we gotta send somebody else, we gotta send HVAC. Or nope, we gotta send BMS. Nope, we gotta send an electrician. Nope, and how much time has wasted for the customer for that? Same thing with our billing and our charges and so forth. We're trying to be as accurate as we can be. Can we perfect it? Yes. Is it always gonna be 100% perfect? No. But that's why we strive, and we always, as managers and professionals, we always look at our processes to see where we can improve. The previous call center that was here before was not answered 24/7. We had technicians answering our phones at night that were not hired to answer the phones and didn't have the necessary skills of customer service. But either you tend to whatever the technicians at the central plant monitor, or you answer the phone. And we had several instances where we did have detrimental things happen to some of the assets in different buildings, and if you were affected, you know who we're talking about. because calls came in and were missed in regards to that. So we have to go to a model where they're saying, what can we do better so the customer can be addressed? How can we make the work order better? How do the customer know? How does the customer know that we're paying attention to them? How do they know that we're doing what we need to do from just answering the phones? So that's why you have the liaisons out and about. You also have the zone managers dedicated to everybody that were hired for the building coordinators to improve that entire process. And when I say improve, was it great? It was great. All we're doing is trying to make sure that we show you that we're trying to make sure that you're tended to, that we're paying more attention to you so we can provide that ultimate customer experience. And so a lot of this stuff is being dispatched while they're walking, safeguarding an area. A lot of this stuff is happening. And like I said, regular business hours, I came to the university, I didn't even know what the business hours were. I mean, everybody's has multiple business hours here, and it's kind of weird for me, but we learned, we have the different trade shops, depending on how is the structure and the need of the university, they all have regular, different business hours. So that's for when I generally speak, I will say Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, because that's what HR uses when they do their publications. So I say that. There's some shops that come in at 6 a.m. in the morning. Some are 24/7 regular business hours. Some are not. So business hours to me, for the dispatch center, to the customer, I'm going to say Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Anything after hours and weekends, we're dispatching somebody where everybody's on call. So that's how it works. But now it's more mobile. We have dedicated people for the zone manager, for the building coordinators, and we hope that also helps, and that any issues or concerns, if you need to scream at my people, don't scream at my people, but if you need to bring anything up to them of concern, let us try. Let us try to make it better. Let us try to make it better for you. Just be patient with us, and if they're not meeting your needs, come to me. Come to Mr. Benjamin. Come to Mr. Oliver. You have all these resources that you can always elevate something to. But they're there, and they're ready to serve you. They're ready to work with you. They're ready to build that relationship with you. So if anybody wants to talk to them after this meeting, feel free to do so. Are we done? Okay, any other questions? Remember, bring any of your financial concerns to myself. Cannon's here, environmental safety's here, IT's here for EAC. Any concerns? The zone managers are still here. I'm here. The directors of FS are here. Any questions that you might have, feel free to come talk to any of us, and we'll address any of your needs. The zone managers are ready to pass out their business cards and start developing that relationship. But even though that zone manager is not assigned to your area, it's good to meet the rest of them, because they're gonna have to back each other up, no matter what. Okay. You want to close it up?
Yeah, maybe if y'all go to, at the end as they're walking out, if everyone can exit through the back, and that way you can get a business card from them and have their information as well. All right, so that concludes our building coordinator meeting for today. Be on the lookout for the email with this information, and I'll gather all the Q&As and also submit that as well. But if y'all have any other questions, just submit them to FATCOM, or if you know who you need to delegate that question to, feel free to send them the email.
And we also have a gift for you as you walk out the door. Our customer liaisons, our new customer liaisons are ready to give them to y'all. Thank y'all.